reads, we're going to start The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. Chapter 1, A Day of Celebration. On the 6th of January, 1482, the city of Paris woke up to the ringing of bells. There were two celebrations going on that day, the Epiphany and the Festival of Fools. The Epiphany was a religious holiday, but the Festival of Fools was for the people. It was an annual celebration where everyone was expected to have fun. There would be fireworks, a May tree celebration, and a play at the Great Hall. Most of the city's important men were going to see the play. All the streets leading to the Great Hall were crowded with people who were talking and laughing as they walked along. The long wait had made the crowd rowdy, and they complained about everything. Like the water that overflows, the crowd swelled as it swept around the pillars, filling every nook and cranny. People sat on the windowsills, on sculptures, anywhere they could fit. A group of students had knocked some glass out of the windows and were boldly sitting on the sill. The young boys joked and laughed. "Why, it's you, Johannes!" "How long have you been here?" one of them yelled to a handsome blond boy who was sitting on the top of a sculpture in the middle of the rooms. Johannes answered, "How do you do, Jayon Frollo? Your arms and legs are spinning like a windmill. Is that how you keep balance on the windowsill?" "How long have we been here?" "More than 4 hours." The boys who were bored with waiting began to tease many of the important men in the crowd. They called names and made fun of their hats, jobs, clothes, anything they could laugh at, they did laugh at. Then at last the clock struck 12. "Ah," the crowd said. The students grew silent, and the rest of the room settled down. Every neck was outstretched, every eye fixed on the stage. But there was nothing to be seen except the 4 bailiffs who were there to keep order, standing as stiff statues. The crowd waited 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5, 10, and then they started chanting, "The play! The play!" "Grab the bailiffs," the students called. The crowd applauded. The 4 men on stage turned quite pale. As the mob started toward them, the curtains flew open. A shaking actor emerged and walked to the center stage. "Today we have the honor of performing The Good Judgment, a play by Pierre Gringoire. I will be playing Jupiter. The moment the cardinal arrives, we shall begin." When everyone heard that there would be more waiting, they started shouting again. "Begin right now!" Johann shouted louder than anyone. "Down with Jupiter! Down with the cardinal!" Jayon yelled. Poor Jupiter started to slowly move off the stage, but before he opened the curtain, a figure dressed in black emerged from the backstage and whispered, "Hey, you, Jupiter!" Jupiter took another step backward. "Who calls me?" The poor fellow spun around. "It's me, Pierre," the playwright said quietly. "Start the play. I'll make sure the cardinal understands." "Okay," Jupiter nodded, then turned around in front of to face the audience. "We shall begin." The crowd whistled and cheered as the music started. It was quite perfectly quiet now in the great hall. The audience was awed by the actors' costumes. White and gold robes, each made from a different material. Silk, linen, wool, and cotton. Pierre stood back and watched the actors speak his words. The crowd had clapped at the beginning. They were still watching. Those were good signs, but his happy mood did not last. An old beggar dressed in rags with a large cut on his arm wandered into the great hall. Jayon noticed him and called out, "Look at that sad sack up there." Every single eye in the room turned to look at the dirty man and stopped watching the play. The actors just stood there, not saying a word at all. The beggar looked around and said, "Spare change, if you please." "Why?" Johann said. "It's old Clopin. I see your leg is better. It's your arm that hurts now, is it?" "Why are you stopping? Carry on," Pierre whispered to the actors, and so they carried on, even while people passed points to the old beggar. Finally, the crowd settled down to watch the play again. It was perfect, until the door just behind the stage flew open and the usher announced, "The Cardinal de Bourbon." The noisy students are bad enough, Pierre thought, but now the cardinal interrupts my play as well. It wasn't that he disliked Cardinal de Bourbon. upset that the crowd had once again turned away from the play to see what was going on. Everyone wanted to get a better view of the important man. They peered over one another's shoulders, straightened their necks, and stood on tiptoes. Anything to get a good look at the popular cardinal as he bowed to the audience and walked to his seat. The students called out the line of bishops behind him as they too took their seats. They were enjoying the Festival of Fools. It was the one day of the year where the students ruled out the streets, joking and laughing and causing trouble, all without much consequence. The officer announced the Duke of Austria. The 48 men came with him. These poor fellows had to call each their names and titles as the men took their seats. All the men looked the same, with black velvet caps and still faces. A man with a jolly face and a funny leather vest, which looked odd in the sea of velvet and silk, tried to enter with the Duke. The officer stopped him. "You can't come this way." The man in the leather vest said, "I am Jacques Coppenole, tailor to the Duke." The officer was upset. His voice was hoarse from calling out so many names, and this wasn't even a nobleman. "Monsieur Jacques Coppenole, tailor." The gallery was full to the brim with important people. Pierre had tried desperately to keep the play going during all the entrances, but with little success. At last, though, it seemed that everyone was settled. Pierre shook his head, he covered his mouth, and yelled as loudly as he could, "Start the play! Come on, let's start the play!" "What the devil is going on?" Jean said. "We've already seen half the play, and they want to start all over again? We'll not have that, will we?" The cardinal asked the bailiff what the racket was all about, and the bailiff explained that the play had already started. The cardinal laughed and shouted, "Just tell them to keep going. It makes no difference." "My play is ruined," Pierre thought. "Now half the audience will know what's happening, and the other half won't. It's a disaster." Then, to make matters worse, Jacques Coppenole stood up and started speaking. "Great people of Paris, what are we doing here? Do we call this a play? Why, there's not even any fighting. We were promised a Festival of Fools. What do you say? Down with the play, and let's begin the Theater of Grimaces. We must find the man who can make the ugliest face and crown him the Pope of Fools." Pierre wanted to say something, but he was too angry to move, and to add insult to injury, the crowd seemed to love the idea. Not a single person was injured in the play. They had all had their minds set on choosing a Pope of Fools. Okay, that was the end of that chapter. See you later.